If you want to listen to all of the episodes of this series right now, early release and ad-free, plus a whole host of extra fan club benefits, head to museumofpopculture.supportingcast.fm. Or if that's too much of a mouthful, just click on it in the show notes, which is the description bit that no one reads. Hello and welcome. I am Josh Widdicombe. This is my Museum of Pop Culture. Welcome back to part 2 of the story of East 17.
1 minute you're a plumber, you're in a hole up to here with water, trying to shovel it out. Next minute you're on stage, you've got a little bit of money, everyone knows who you are, and all girls want you in it. And it was just like, it was brilliant.
Coming up in this episode, it's the Battle of the British Boy Bands as the rivalry with Take That heats up, and East 17 released their career-defining chart topper, Stay Another Day. I want to start, not with East 17. It's good to come in at a different angle.
Yeah. There's actually no E17 in this, is there, until we get to episode 4?
Beatles versus the Stones.
Okay.
Do you remember the name of Beatles manager?
Epstein.
Yeah, Brian Epstein. That's not part of it, but I just thought I'd check that you were listening.
Yeah, I was, yeah, absolutely.
But the reason the Beatles versus the Stones matters
Yes.
is it is used a lot to describe the next chapter in East 17. So do you consider the Beatles v the Stones as a rivalry?
Yes, I would consider, yeah.
Well, the Beatles, and I hate this, there's a trope that really does my head in, which is people going, actually, I'd say that the Beatles were the first ever boy band.
Okay.
And you can see why. Stage invasions, faintings, hospitalizations, screaming girls, that kind of thing. And they're 4 guys, but it doesn't really, they're not doing dance moves. They're all playing their instrument. I think the argument is really the other
I
way.
would have loved that statement when I was in 6th form.
Yeah, it's
When I
real,
was first going out to Punana and trying to flirt with girls. That's the sort of thing I would have absolutely.
Do you know what it often goes in hand with, for my annoyance, is when people go, actually, I think Girls Aloud make great pop music. Do you know, like, go, I'm cool, but I get pop. Absolutely. Just say what's true, which is Girls Aloud have got loads of great songs.
Yeah.
You don't, Madonna is a great pop star, so I get it. But I'm also clever, so I don't like pop, but I get. Just admit, everything can be good, high out, low culture. Yeah. And low culture is generally better.
It has a slight tone of, can I shock you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I may be drinking a Merlot here, but I also think... But in conclusion, I do think it's a rivalry. I will chuck in one thing. I actually think it's a rivalry the Beatles won. There you go. That is much...
Do you know what, Craine? Yeah. In many ways, Shakespeare was the first rapper.
Very good.
Etc. Yeah. The Beatles won. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
That would be my take on that rivalry. I don't think the Rolling Stones have done badly. I imagine they're probably mortgage-free.
That's very magnanimous of you.
Exactly, yeah. They'd probably go on a couple of nice holidays a year. Yeah. But, I think the Beatles won.
They were not really rivals in the sense that they were mates.
Okay.
So the Beatles actually recommended Decca to sign the Stones.
Oh, didn't know that.
And All You Need Is Love, that song, they then performed it as Britain's entry, not in Eurovision, there was a world satellite link-up, the first ever international satellite link-up.
Yeah.
And all the countries did different things as part of this program.
A televised thing?
Yeah, a televised thing.
Ah.
And the Beatles did All You Need Is Love. That was the British thing, which is an amazing kind of awesome moment in the world. I
love that.
And the Stones are sat around them as they perform it in the audience.
Yeah.
So they're mates. Keith Richards' book, which I didn't love, and I love Keith Richards, but there's a lovely picture of him and Paul McCartney. They've obviously, whatever Caribbean island it is, they've both got houses on. And Paul McCartney's just come round to his house and they've both got guitars out. And
that's awesome.
I love that.
But there was a real thing of that era of, Bowie, all these people hanging around together at each other's concerts and stuff like that.
Well, of course they do, because they're not really rivals, because that's not a real thing.
Yeah.
Let's just enjoy a bit of the rivalry. An interview by John Lennon in 1970, although he's very angry at this point, as he is at all points, really. In Rolling Stone, he says, I would like to just list what we did and what the Stones did 2 months after on every fucking album. Every fucking thing we did mixed exactly the same. He imitates us. And I'd like one of you fucking underground people to point it out. You know, Satanic Majesties is Pepper. We Love You, the song that he and McCartney sang background on. It's the most fucking bullshit. It's All You Need Is Love.
McCartney said that.
No, Lennon.
That was Lennon.
Yeah, it's not very McCartney.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
In the song Dig a Pony, which Lennon had done on Let It Be the year before, one of the lyrics is, I roll a stony, well, you can imitate everyone you know.
Ouch.
So but generally they were mates.
Yeah, okay.
McCartney...
They were mates, however, Lennon completely disregarded anything they'd ever done creatively, clearly.
But
Completely.
John Lennon has a way of being very horrible about his friends.
Okay, right. Yeah.
John Lennon...
He had a side.
He's dealing with a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll come to one day in a 16-part. McCartney, 2021, said, I'm not sure I should say it. This is of the Rolling Stones. But they're a blues cover band. That's sort of what the Stones are.
Wow.
I think our net was cast a bit wider than theirs. And I think that's true.
Yeah, but does he need to say it?
Well, he says I'm not sure I should say it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, yeah. But
he doesn't need to say
you're
it.
successful. The Beatles have done well. You've done well. The Stones have done well. I don't know why you need to also.
Yeah, it's fair. It
feels needless. Petty.
He's not dealing with many issues either compared to John Lennon.
No.
He seems to be quite a happy bloke. So East 17 were who in that rivalry? Rolling Stones or the Beatles?
Well, I would say that Take That with the Beatles, probably.
Yeah. So Take That with the Beatles.
I've said that before, actually.
You have said that before.
Yeah.
Well, they were the first boy.
Yeah.
So, according to Rolling Stone, no less, the Stones to Take That's Beatles, these four Walthamstow boys were tough as nails and looked like they hadn't slept in weeks.
Yep.
Brian Harvey said, back then, as a kid, you made a choice who you liked. And it was either us or Take That. If you liked East 17, it showed you knew what was going on, you were clued up, you had a better taste in music. Do you think that's true?
I was always more of an indie boy.
Yeah.
So I think...
Well, this is my problem with this, right, is that... And it came along at the same time with Blur v Oasis. Actually, Mortimer says it was a bit like Blur v Oasis. There wasn't a rivalry. There were a competition. He says, which was nice. It would have been lonely otherwise, was his view. And there's kind of that thing where you're like, is there a rivalry? A rivalry to me implies that you hate each other and you're nothing alike. But if you're into pop music and boy bands, like I was into Blur and Oasis.
Yeah.
And most people that like Blur will like Oasis because they're in the same bit of the Venn diagram.
But I still think there was a tribalism that came around that. My school, definitely, people were Blur or Oasis. I went to an all-boys school, whether that was...
In Bath, so they were all Blur.
Exactly, yeah. It was one Oasis.
Yeah.
But I think there was a distinction and people went to one side or the other. I actually read a kind of interesting article right recently about the fact that is slightly reflective of the period of time we were living through. So now there is so much tailored, focused content for whatever you're into.
Yeah.
You can find your little niche, whereas then there were fewer channels, there was fewer way of access. Exactly, yeah, completely. So you really were on one side or the other of an argument in much more in a way than you are now, basically.
And I think, I might be wrong this because I'm not 18, but it feels like the days of the huge, style takeover of fashion and music into one thing that parents are scared about. So, for instance, punk or new romantic or rave, it doesn't seem that will exist anymore.
Yes.
It's much nicher. So the things that there's fear about, like drill music, isn't taking over everything.
Yeah.
It's a small thing.
Yeah.
Whereas East 17, who I don't think there was ever a scare about, they're essentially quite cartoony.
Yeah.
But they were big rivals with Take That. So Take That, kind of brief discussion of Take That, were from Manchester. They were a put together boy band and they were very kind of goody two shoes.
Yeah.
They were led by Gary Barlow and obviously the big star to go out there, Robbie Williams. We will see who wins the rivalry, but they were the good boys. East 17 were the bad boys.
They were like the safe pin-up boys, basically.
Well, do you want some bad stuff from Take That?
Absolutely.
Give you an idea? In 1992, Gary Barlow.
And am I going to be saying the word pity again?
Yeah, let's see whether these... Okay. I'm going to give you 4 facts.
Yeah.
And you can tell me whether they're worth a pity or not.
Okay, yeah.
1992, Gary Barlow got his nose pierced.
That's okay.
He said to Smash Hits, I've been mithering about it for months. I really wanted to do something unusual that was just for me.
Unusual. I suppose 92, maybe people weren't doing it as much then. I think that's quite cool.
In the Relight My Fire video, Mark Owen wears a crop top that instead of saying Johnson's Baby Powder on it, you remember Johnson's Baby
Yes,
Powder,
I do,
the
yeah.
logo, same logo, but it says Junkie's Baddie Powder.
I think that's a pity. That's a pity. I think the word junkie's a bit offensive as well for people who are probably going through stuff. Literally and emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Howard from Take That mistakenly outed Jason for shagging Lulu.
Right. How?
Well, she was in Relight My Fire,
Yeah.
and on the Jonathan Ross chat show, Howard said Jason was the one who fucked her.
Okay, that's a pity.
Lulu later denied this.
Okay, fine.
Finally, Gary Barlow in his autobiography, My Take. Like that time?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's fine, yeah.
By the way, little aside, do Google the news story about people complaining about Gary Barlow's signed copies of My Take,
Right.
because he has basically just written a G. There was always some girl who'd come up and say, take me back with you. I wouldn't even spend the night with them. I wanted a good night's sleep. You get them back to your room, do the business, and then say, right, out. It's amazing how desensitized you become if it's continuous.
Yeah, pity. Pity. Bit of respect. Everyone has
So
emotions.
take that at an edge, Tom.
Yeah.
What we're learning.
So I think the only thing I've okayed there is a ear piercing, isn't it?
Yeah, the nose piercing, yeah.
Yeah, nose piercing, that's it, yeah.
So take that, that's how edgy they were.
Yep.
East 17, and we will really learn this in this episode, are edgy to the point where it ends up destroying them.
Okay.
It's a kind of this interesting story where you're like, the public want a bit of it,
Yes.
but the moment it goes too far,
Yeah,
they turn on them.
that's interesting.
So initially, in the East 17, we take that rivalry. East 17 are the big band. East 17 finds success. House of Love goes to number 10 straight away. Take That's first two singles are not a success. Basically, when Tom Watkins goes to East 17, goes, these are your rivals, Take That. And he plays them a video. Says, right, lads, this is your biggest competition. After the video ended, and that's the video where I don't know if you've seen it, Take That are lying naked on the floor and they're wearing jelly onto their bums. Yeah. East 17 roll their eyes in disbelief. Well, that was hardly competition, was it? I agreed. And for a while, it looked as if we were right. So Take That and Party, which was the Take That album, hits number 2. East 17's first album, Walthamstow.
Yeah.
Great album title.
Yeah, it's great.
Straight in at number 1.
Brilliant.
Little aside, record producer Richard Biff Stannard later claimed that East 17 wanted to, as a kind of shot across the bows, call their album East 17 and Boogie in response to and Party.
Funny. It's interesting how, from a management point of view, rivalry is quite useful.
Very useful. And Tony kind of says that. It's incredibly useful
Yeah.
because it creates a narrative. And this was a time, and you don't get this in, well, you do, actually that's rubbish, but it's no different, well, it is different, but it isn't really different from today, Kendrick Lamar and Drake doing those diss tracks.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's exactly the same thing, that narrative drives absolutely everything. And people want to know about, they want, everything's a story, right? You understand things as a story.
Yeah, completely.
And the more your music doesn't exist in a vacuum,
yeah.
the better it is for the fans.
Yes.
And so E17 are the successful one at the start.
Yeah.
That's platinum. Spoiler alert, Take That and Party. Over time, will go 3 times platinum or more.
Okay.
But at this stage,
Yeah.
the bad guys are winning, or the good guys, depending on your view. Who do you prefer?
E17.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
You're cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've got an edge.
I live in East London. Walthamstow speaks to me.
Well, on the East thing, they are huge at this point, not just in Britain, but in Eastern Europe.
Ah.
Because it's the early 90s and Eastern Europe's just come out of communism.
Yeah.
And they're kind of enjoying the pleasures of the West.
Okay.
And what's the ultimate pleasure of the West? E17.
Yeah. Yeah. Eastern Bloc 17.
Eastern Bloc 17.
Yeah. There's no doubt there. Yeah.
So they're invited, they play the concert Romania become part of the EU, and to celebrate it, they do a concert.
Right.
And they get E17.
Great.
This is an incredible quote from Terry from E17. I thought it would just be a club PA.
Are they selling them? They're doing number ones at this point out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And Romania have made it to the EU
Yeah.
after 50 years as a communist state, and he thought they'd celebrate with a club PA. Then we turned up, and there was a massive stadium and 20,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And this is Terry. When communism ended, we were one of the acts that brought their society into Western pop culture. So there were all these 60-year-old men singing E17 songs. It was brilliant.
Incredible.
I love that image.
Yeah. What an image, yeah.
And they're popular in Eastern Europe, Latvia, Lithuania. Not Eastern Europe, but also another country that's kind of turbulent. They drew 7 number ones in Israel.
Wow. The money that's pouring through this band, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then their live pinnacle, they played to hundreds of thousands in Red Square.
Wow. Okay.
So they're huge in Eastern Europe and around the world. U2 even have a lyric in the song Miss Sarajevo saying, is there a time for First Communion, a time for E17?
Wow.
So they've become like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Mortimer's take on that is Bono said it was the only thing that rhymed.
Okay.
Is there time for E17? Well, obviously there is, because we had a moment. I don't think it does rhyme, does it? Is there a time for First Communion, a time for E17?
No, it doesn't rhyme at all. No,
just checking.
There's a slight sort of similarity in sound.
Communion 17.
Yeah.
At the time, also, there was a huge rivalry in indie, which you've already touched on, Blur v Oasis. So who would be the E17 of Blur v Oasis?
Well, Oasis are E17, aren't they?
Yeah. What do you think Oasis think of E17? That's quite an interesting question.
Yeah.
Do you think Oasis like E17? I know the answer.
Well, I think Oasis wouldn't have liked to take that in that rivalry.
Yeah.
So,
well, they did become friends with
Robbie. That's very true. Yeah. Well, they did. Yeah. There was beef there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming Oasis probably quite liked E17 and the fact they were, working class, kind of spoke about their area. They were doing something a bit different. They were, I can see that Oasis probably got behind that.
Well, E17 is staying in the same hotel in Portsmouth in 1994 as Oasis.
Okay. Yeah.
And Liam insists he's going to sort out E17.
Right.
Because he alleges they've ripped off Imagine.
Okay. Sorry, just to be clear, so this is Liam Gallagher is saying he's going to sort out
E17
for ripping off
Imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit rich, isn't it? Of all the bands to...
I don't know which song. I need to know which song.
Let's not get into who's ripping on the Beatles. Those sort of chord structures. Yeah.
And then it says, half an hour later, the singer's insisting that all he wants to do is sit down with E17, neck a few beers, and sort out how they can topple take that.
Brilliant. Okay. Love it.
So the moment they meet...
That suggests a little bit that he's met them. They're harder than he was expecting. Liam Gallagher's swagger is immediately... Okay, I want to be friends. Can I surprise you?
I like Imagine.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think what you've done with it is great. You've got no idea which song he means. Does he mean Stay Another Day?
Yeah,
or does he mean the piano bit from...
I think that is what it is, isn't it? Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the Christmas single, yeah.
At Top of the Pops in 1994... Somebody say they saw Noel Gallagher in the Top of the Pops corridor, and he said, I like your songs.
Okay.
So Oasis are on board.
Yeah, on board, yeah.
Liam has a history of getting on with boy bands. Mm-hmm. Are you aware, and I doubt you will be, of when Liam Gallagher met Five?
No. I'm excited, though.
Richie from Five said, Liam was an absolute legend and Noel was a prick.
Right, okay.
So they're in Rio the same time as them, right? We went to the pool and Liam was sat there with a big bucket of beers and recognised us and was like, all right, lads, grab a beer if you want to. And one beer led to 20. And then Scott from Five said,
That's too high. 20 is exaggerated. He's gone too far there, hasn't he, to try and make it sound impressive.
Well, they're bottles.
Okay, that's fine. I think one beer led to 7 is probably maybe their bottles is realistic.
It's a pity.
Yeah.
20's a pity.
It's too much, yeah.
Yeah.
You lost me there.
Scott says, we ended up playing, if you can complete this sentence, I'll give you 20 beers.
Okay, so they're sat by the pool, having a few beers. Okay, yeah.
Oh, well, by this point, they're back in his room.
Okay.
What are they doing in Liam Gallagher's room?
Twister.
Bop It.
Great.
So Bop It, if you don't know, was a 2000s maybe? Early 2000s game where you get given a plastic thing and it will say, twist it, bop it, pull it, and you have to do the different things.
Exactly.
It was him in his room, and he was getting increasingly frustrated with his game because he wasn't winning.
Yep.
So the image that Liam Gallagher has brought Bop It on tour to Rio is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But they didn't get on with
Imagine
Noel.
if that's where all his anger's coming from, is the fact that he can't master Bop It. It's not really about his brother.
That's the reunion. He's promised not to bring Bop It.
Yeah. Exactly. Finally masters it. Chills out.
But Noel didn't like them. Richie says they were playing with a show with them in Venezuela after they'd made friends with Liam. And they'd got on with Liam, he wasn't judgmental. And then Noel had more ego about it and said, what are you hanging around with the boy banders for? Liam went, what are you talking about? They're sound lads travelling around having a laugh. And Noel was like, for fuck's sake.
Right.
That's an aside.
Yes.
E17 then, from the first album into the second album, Steam. Steam was the big lead single. Steam was a great song.
What's funny about this is at the beginning of the show, you asked me, am I into E17? I'm like, not really. But every time you mention a song, I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually...
They're great songs. They're one of those bands where their Spotify top 5 is fucking incredible.
Okay, yeah.
I've listened to the albums for this. I'd say they're a singles band.
Okay.
I wouldn't, after this, think, I've got 3 great albums to follow up on it. But do add the singles to a playlist. So it's released October 1994, double platinum in the UK.
Fair play.
Top 10 hits, Steam, number 7. Let It Rain, number 10. Around the World, number 3.
Good song.
Stay Another Day, which is their absolute calling card, and they're only number 1.
Yeah.
Around the World, Smash Hits described it on releases. Never ever has a single deserved to be number 1 as much as this one does.
What a statement.
Yeah. Never.
Yeah. It's a decent song, but...
It hits number 3.
Yeah.
Top 10, also Australia, Denmark, Finland, Ireland, Lithuania, Netherlands, and Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
It's a big song.
Mugabe, huge fan.
Mugabe.
Absolutely loved
huge fan.
Yeah.
Hated Take That.
Yeah, front row of every concert.
But the big song really is Stay Another Day.
Drums, please! Because you're about to witness a most historic event.
For the first time ever, Top of the Pops can reveal who the number 1 is. And you can listen to the whole chart rundown later on Radio 1.
Let's put our festive hands together, because
E17 and 1994's Christmas number 1. Baby, if you got to go away, don't think I can take the pain. Won't you stay another day?
And that's the song everyone knows about E17. We've already discussed it's making Tony Mortimer £97,000 a year to this day.
And it's making me cry.
It's mad how young they are as well at this point. He's 23 when he writes this song.
Yeah.
And it's about his brother Ollie, who had killed himself at the age of 22 4 years earlier. Basically, Tony Mortimer says his intention was to write a ballad. Mm-hmm. He thought, because it's a ballad, E17 don't release ballads, this will be a B-side.
Yeah.
He plays it to Tom Watkins. Tom Watkins says, that's a Christmas number 1.
Baby, if you got to go away, don't think I can take the pain. Won't you stay another day?
Which is a weird reaction to going, I've written a ballad about my brother topping himself.
Tom, were you really listening? Yeah, no, I was. Yeah.
Did you hear the preamble where I said what the song's about?
Because it feels like you did.
You want to put sleigh bells on it?
Yeah. But, you know...
He's right.
He's right, yeah, absolutely. And it does have that sort of... There's often, like, a lot of Christmas number 1s have that sort of sadness to them. Look at Fairy Tale in New York, for example.
There's a poignancy to Christmas.
Completely.
Last Christmas.
Exactly. Is it 3,000 miles or 10,000 miles? I can't quite remember how far they... 2,000 miles, how far they drove. I just can't remember which route they took. Is it As the Bird Flies, or do they take a complicated one because of traffic? But the point is, there is a sadness to a lot of these songs. There is something about Christmas about that, you know.
Christmas
despair.
It's about... Because it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
There is a wistfulness about Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. And
about what you're missing.
It's also coming together and coming back together with people you probably haven't seen for a while, this idea of family being removed from you, all these sort of things.
You sound like Tom trying to justify it to Tony. Right, and he's going, I don't want sleigh bells on the song about my brother killing himself.
But you can see why that would work. Yeah.
Well, this is how the conversation
in the bleak
goes.
midwinter, of course, the early sort of tragic Christmas banger.
There you go. Silent Night.
Yeah, we could go on.
Tom says that's a Christmas number one. Tony says, no, not that one. You really ain't releasing that one. He explains what it's about, but Tom's looking at it from a marketing perspective. Yeah. And the record company then hear it and say, that is a classic. And Tony's like, this couldn't go any worse. And he's got no control. And so they put it out. Mm-hmm. And Tony does say it's a sad song about missing people, and Christmas is about being with the ones you love. Yeah. So there is that kind of argument about it. And I don't think also most people know what that song was about.
No, I didn't know that.
No. There's also another problem with this, and this is to become a bigger problem throughout the rest of E17, which is Tom loves the song, Tony is proud of it, doesn't want to put it out, and Brian thinks it's shit.
Okay.
So it turns out that Brian has become the lead singer of E17. Tony's the songwriter, but Brian's got this kind of brilliant, fragile voice that makes him the lead singer. And he says, I'm not singing that shit. And Tony is understandably, having written all of the songs that got E17 famous, and then written a song about his brother killing himself.
Yeah.
He's a little angry.
I get that.
And he has to be held back from beating the shit out of Brian.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Brian does sing it. Mm-hmm. Tony wins an Ivor Novello Award for this song.
Wow.
And this is one of the things why people like you are snobby about E17 and call them working class oiks, as we've covered.
Yeah.
Tony is winning Ivor Novello Awards. If he was more respected...
Yeah.
Because they're a boy band and because they're rough around the edges, people don't understand how good he is as a songwriter. He says that he was so young that he'd never heard of the Ivor Novello Awards. Before he won one. He thought it was a person. But looking back, he says, it feels prestigious, better than the swimming awards I got as a kid.
Funny.
And it beats to number one. Take that.
Yeah.
And Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, which has since become like arguably the biggest Christmas song, Mariah Carey now.
Yeah. Globally, I think. Yeah.
And Christmas number one at this point is a huge deal. Yeah. It's like the England cap of playing in the World Cup. And it's number one, Stay Another Day. At this time, Top of the Pops has like celebrity guest hosts. Mm-hmm. And the ultimate slam is that the people presenting Top of the Pops that week who have to introduce it take that.
Perfect. It is interesting how it was a massive deal then, in a way that I would not be aware now what the Christmas number one is.
No.
Like, it completely passed
I think it got
by.
killed by, well, the charts don't matter.
Yes.
And they also got killed by X Factor.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because it would inevitably be that. But is that still the case? Is it the X Factor winner?
No, because X Factor
doesn't exist. See, there you are. That's how much on the pulse I am. But the point is, it felt like a real... And even in the build-up, there was so much excitement. Who's it going to be? And it would shift places in the run-up. It really felt like a massive thing.
It sells 6 million copies, that single.
Yeah. It's all story, though, isn't it? We talk about rivalry. It's the same with the idea of the Christmas number one, the narrative of who's going to win this battle.
Exactly.
It's so useful for the music industry. Totally. And that was a time when people, if they capitalised, could make so much money, and it really was, a game changer.
And maybe Tom Watkins is, really good at that. Tony Mortimer's really good at writing songs.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. And Brian Harvey, to be fair to him, is really good at singing.
Yeah.
And the other two are there.
Yeah. And the dog is, he goes out to the garden to do his business. He's good as gold.
He's house trained.
Exactly. You would be annoyed, though, wouldn't you, if Brian Harvey is complaining about the songs but not bringing any songs himself?
Yeah, although you probably don't want him to bring any songs in.
Yeah.
I suppose it's not dissimilar from that Bros thing that happens, but it's just happening within the band.
Yeah.
And what you will see is Tony and Tom, the manager, become a unit that is against the other three of the band.
Interesting.
So at the end, it does become the same as Bros, but it's just that one of them is making the money and he pairs off with the manager.
Okay. I'm imagining the other two are sort of keeping their head down at this point, because it would feel a bit like you could get found out at any point. If I push my agenda, they're going to go, but you don't bring anything.
Yes. Well, they don't know if they've got an agenda.
Yeah.
Fair play to them.
Yeah.
Like, you'd do it, but you've got to, at this point, go, I'm on a good thing here.
Yeah.
But maybe also there's something where you're playing to hundreds of thousands of people in Red Square and you're going, I should be seeing some fucking money for this, because I get it, I don't write the songs, but on the night, we're all performing in the band.
It's quite funny to think that Putin would probably have been there.
Well, right in, because
Wouldn't he?
I'd love to know whether Vladimir Putin was at the East 17 gig.
He probably would.
He'd have
If he
been-
was the biggest, they were the biggest
I
active.
think he was in the KGB, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he was stationed in Germany, so I don't know whether he...
Still got to let your hair down sometimes, haven't you?
Well,
If you have to, then.
I know, but is he flying back for it?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question.
I don't know. Did Vladimir Putin ever watch East 17?
Yeah.
Do email in. Mortimer said, and this is kind of interesting because, like, it's now become a cultural thing, Stay Another Day, that kind of transcends East 17. And he said recently in an interview, it usually starts around October. I accept it, but it's always been difficult, a two-edged sword for my family.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, people come up to me and say, that song leads a lot to me. And I'm like, hang about, I'm not ready for that yet. I'm just in McDonald's. But I'm used to it because it's been so long. It never stops, though. It's every year. So, yeah, I said to my missus this morning, I'm going into town today to do some interviews. They're going to remind me that my brother killed himself.
That is really heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's quite a kind of... Tony Mortimer is quite an intense thing that he's been through, I think.
Yes.
And not that, well, that obviously, but also on top of that, this whole journey. And he's obviously quite a kind of thoughtful, deep guy that's kind of trying to process all this stuff.
And that also must be difficult if you are...
Well, Brian
sort of-
Harvey's telling him the song's shit.
But you're also slightly in an industry where generally there won't be that depth of thought in terms of pop boy band music and the way that stuff is produced. There's a certain sort of cynical money-making approach to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That his introspective qualities that seem to be part of who he is sort of counter to what a lot of that was. If you look at the culture of those early 90 boy bands, so much was just like, okay, what's a single we can make that people will buy, that will mean we can keep this machine going, we can make as much money until
Well, I think there's that interesting thing with boy bands. That they can't stop.
Yeah.
Because they'll get replaced.
Yeah.
So if you're Blur or Oasis, you can go away for 18 months.
Yeah.
Or 2 years, and people will be excited when you come back. But a boy band is like, it's like a shark that if it stops swimming, it dies.
Yeah, and you're also hitting a demographic that's aging with you, and at a point probably
so you've just
will
got to
move
clear
out
up
of
as
it.
quick-
Yeah, exactly.
So they're straight into their third album the next year, Up All Night. This is to be the last one, featuring the original lineup. It's released November 1995, platinum in the UK, so down from double platinum. It's got If You Ever, which is a duet with, as Tom Watkins says in his book, eye patch wearing soul siren Gabrielle.
Okay. Yeah.
That hits number 2. But it's kind of the beginning of the end. And so it's the eternal boy band problem, basically, that Tony is getting a lot of money. So Tom describes it as the people who can't write songs being disgruntled that they aren't making money from writing songs.
Okay.
Terry Caldwell even became a bit peeved that reporters would only want to talk to Tony, thus depriving the public of the Caldwell oracle of wit and wisdom. Yet it's the other eternal boy band dilemma. People with nothing to say being disgruntled that people aren't interested in their opinions.
Wow. Brutal.
But it is difficult, I think, to be in E17 and get all that adulation and then go, but nobody's kind of interested in me and I've got no active role in this.
Yeah.
That's a really difficult thing to process, I
Completely,
imagine. So someone who people are interested in too much maybe is Brian Harvey. So Brian is the most combustible member of E17. He is also the most famous because he's kind of becomes a tabloid figure from maybe a year in. He's cautioned for possessing cannabis in East London. Pity.
Yeah, pity.
And then he gets in a relationship with Daniela Westbrook, who is in EastEnders. So he's in the biggest, or one of the biggest bands. She's in the biggest soap in the country, or was. They get engaged, and then they...
That's a spicy combination, isn't it? Daniela Westbrook and...
Brian Harvey.
Yeah.
And she actually says that Tom Watkins said to her, advised her to split up with Brian. It wouldn't end well for her, telling her that he always wins. So this kind of idea. So now we get into a lovely, juicy area of deep conspiracy.
Perfect.
So Tom Watkins can't manage Brian Harvey. Brian Harvey is a nightmare, according to Tom Watkins.
But we are hitting this pattern of events that we've seen before with Tom Watkins, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's, history shows that this happens.
I think Brian Harvey's a really interesting figure because he's clearly a deeply troubled guy, as we will see.
Yeah.
But I feel incredibly sorry for him because he's kind of not prepared for how he's going to get treated by the tabloids at all. And he's not media savvy enough to deal with it. And it absolutely destroys him. Also, there's a kind of really nice bit in Tom Watkins' book where he talks about Brian Harvey, where he says, before they fell out, he writes, Brian, abandoned by his mother and left to live with his gran, was the kind of kid who runs to fame craving the love he never got and always gets singed by it. Brian had pain inside him. He also had music, which is why he was able to access such raw, poignant emotions when he sang.
Interesting.
And he says, Christmas 1993, which is like the golden period, Tom Watkins is at home and there's a knock at the door and it's Brian Harvey. And he says, all right, geez, I just thought I'd get you this. I want to say a big thank you, Merry Christmas. And it's Brian Harvey and it's a cuddly Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
He's a kind of like, almost like a child that's been put in this awful situation. The big issue comes January the 15th, 1997. So Anthony Simon, who is like a news reporter for a thing called Independent News Radio, which is basically a kind of syndicated radio interview.
Okay.
Where he'll do it and then it'll go to all the local stations. It's not the News of the World or the Sun. He's coming down to Top of the Pops to interview them after a performance. And the band come off stage and Brian's asked if he could spare 5 minutes with this guy, Anthony. And Brian subsequently says, I thought, why can't one of the others do it? But they said, no, Brian, we want you to do it. Just do it on your own. So 10 days before this interview, Tony has done an interview with the Guardian Guide, which is that little pull-out magazine in the Guardian. And he's made some kind of throwaway comments on ecstasy that the press hadn't picked up on. But Brian's been in the interview.
Yeah.
And he's heard what Tony said. And Anthony, the journalist has actually wanted to ask Tony about this, but he's been given Brian.
Okay, yeah.
So Brian sits down and Anthony says, what do you think about Tony's comments saying that ecstasy is a better drug than alcohol? Do you agree with that? Brian replies, this. All right, I'm going to fall into one here now because I've done pills myself. You know what I mean? I've done Doves. I've done 12 of them in one night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been off it on them. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, with Doves, if you bang one, you go out, you have a good night. And that's what people want to do. Can you see the error he's made there?
Yeah. yeah.
Media-wise.
Keep that to yourself. Yeah. Also, 12. Once again, it's like 20 beers at the pool, isn't it?
Yeah, it does feel like a lot, doesn't
it?
So Anthony, the journalist, later says that Brian was being so pro about ecstasy.
Right.
He had to ask him what wasn't good about it for journalistic balance. The journalist tried to save him.
Yeah.
And Brian replied, the dangers are, if you're frightened and you don't know whether to do it, then don't do it. Don't do it to prove a point, you know what I mean? If it brings out the better in someone, then really in the long run, it's a safe pill. And if it ain't doing you no harm, I don't see the problem.
Okay.
Which doesn't seem like balance.
Yeah.
So Anthony later says, I just kept quiet and let him do the talking and let him talk into the microphone. I didn't need to do anything else. And this is kind of where it all kicks off. So he goes back to the office, Anthony, and in order to balance the story, he gets a quote from anti-drugs campaigner Paul Betts, whose daughter Leah Betts has died after taking ecstasy 2 years before this. She's taken ecstasy and died, and that was such a huge story.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so Paul, understandably, comes down quite hard on Brian's comments.
Yeah.
So 6:30 the next day, the story goes out on 150 radio stations.
Wow.
On the breakfast bulletins.
Brian Harvey's not come down. That's the last thing he needs.
He's only on pill 9. He's still...
When he wakes up at 3 PM, he finds out about it. Yeah.
So journalists swarm around his house in Essex. So the Mirror knock on his door. Brian Harvey doesn't know what's happened. He just invites them into his house.
Really?
Yeah, because he doesn't know this story's broken.
Yeah.
Because he won't have a mobile phone or anything.
Yeah.
I thought some silly bird had sold a story or some rubbish like that. So I've got this idea of what they're here for, and I've opened the door and just tell them come in. He says, they sort of just looked at each other. I didn't even ask them what they wanted. So I said, right, what's your problem? I picked up the TV remote, clicked on the TV, and at the same time went to talk to her. And John Major came on the TV, and I swear to God, he said my name the second the picture came.
I've done pills myself, you know what I mean? I used to do dubs. I've done 12 one night, you know what I mean?
We had some dreadful remarks from Mr. Brian Harvey of East 17.
I would certainly regard any comments of that sort as wholly wrong.
Incredible.
So John Major, Prime Minister of the UK at the time, obviously. What he's talking about is during PMQs that day, Prime Minister's questions, Barry Legg, who's one of the Tory MPs, says, and bear in mind, I think PMQs is at midday.
Yes.
I don't know whether
I think,
it was
I think it is early.
So Brian has had a lie in there.
Yeah.
If the John Major part of the story is already breaking, he's got up quite late.
Yeah.
Not that that's the main crux. Yeah. Let's not attack a man.
Having a lie-in.
Yeah. Barry Legg asks, what is his reaction to the comments made today by Brian Harvey of East 17, who says that ecstasy makes people feel better and that he takes up to 12 tablets a day?
He didn't say he takes up to 12 a day, though, does he?
No.
It's not like vitamins.
No.
I think he's saying that he's had nights out on ecstasy. He's not routinely doing 12 a day.
No.
I assume that's what...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barry Legg implies that that's just what Brian Harvey's taken to kind of top himself
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Yeah.
John Major says, I've not read the comments about ecstasy, but I regard any comments of that sort as wholly wrong. Drug taking, whatever the drug may be, tends to lead on to hard drugs. Mm-hmm. We've seen often enough the tragedy that then occurs. The journalists from the Mirror who are in Brian's house ask Brian to pose for a photo.
Right.
Brian declines because he said, the cameraman says, can you hold this picture up? And the photo is of Leah Betts lying in a coma.
Wow.
And so Brian Harvey obviously says no. And he basically takes the guy's camera and says, get out of my house. Closed the door, sat on my stairs, put my head in my hands. And I was like, what is going on? The band's taken off the playlists of 11 radio stations.
No way.
A spokesman for Oxford-based radio station Fox FM said, as if, talk about making yourself part of the story.
Yeah.
Brian Harvey is going to have to come up with something more than a partial apology, which we don't believe. He has to persuade us that he's really anti-drugs.
Okay.
Fox FM think a lot of themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
Brian Harvey doesn't give a fuck whether he's on Fox FM at this stage in the game. So Brian's decision then is to let in a news crew from London tonight and apologise live on air.
Okay.
How will that play out? We will find out in the next episode. But just quickly, do you think Brian Harvey is the person left in East 17 these days?
I'm going to go no with Brian Harvey.
Yeah.
I have a concern for him at this point because look at the way that Blue Peter story played out.
Yeah.
Which was, who was that? Was
Richard
Bacon, which I think was cocaine was the thing he was apologising for. And that's a similar sort of time.
Yeah.
Was ruinous for him. So I imagine this is not going to be good news for Brian. So I'm going to stick with Tony as a person who's still there. Oh, dear Brian.
Oh, dear Brian. Poor Brian. That's it for part 2. You can get all the episodes of this series right now at museumofpopculture.supportingcast.fm and follow us on social media at Museum of Pop Culture Pod to see links and clips to some of the things we discuss in this episode, as well as being the home of pop culture nostalgia.